Welcome to Zoe Stories. I was turned into a girl to gain their approval. My name is Lucas, and I was 19 years old when my world was turned upside down. I had always been the quiet, reserved type, blending into the background. Good grades, decent friends, a predictable routine. It was comfortable, even if a little dull. I never sought attention or drama, and I was content with my place in life. But that all changed the moment Matt and Alex, two of my closest friends, issued a challenge that would push me far beyond my comfort zone. It all started as a joke. They dared me to do something out of the ordinary, something totally out of character. They wanted me to transform myself into a girl, clothes, makeup, the works, and pass as one for an entire day. At first, I thought they were kidding, but as the challenge grew more serious, the pressure mounted. If I refused, I risked losing their respect. But if I agreed, I wasn't sure what would happen. Could I actually pull it off? And if I did, what would it say about me? This wasn't just about winning a bet or satisfying their curiosity. It was about proving myself, about facing a challenge that threatened everything I thought I knew about who I was. The stakes felt higher than just pride. It was my identity on the line. Would I be able to face the world as someone completely different, or would I expose my deepest fears in the process? The fear of failure loomed large, but a strange sense of curiosity and excitement stirred inside me, pushing me to take the plunge. When Matt and Alex first brought it up, I thought it was a joke, one of those stupid dares that guys do to mess with each other. But when they kept pushing, the humor started to fade, and a knot of anxiety formed in my stomach. They were serious. The idea of dressing up as a girl, in front of them and possibly everyone else, seemed ridiculous at first. How could I even pull it off? I wasn't exactly the most fashion-forward guy, let alone someone who knew how to do makeup or style hair. I remember the moment I actually started considering it. Matt was grinning, half expecting me to say no, while Alex just leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, clearly convinced that I wouldn't back out. I could feel the weight of their eyes on me, like they were waiting for me to prove something. But what was I proving? Could I handle the ridicule if I failed? If I didn't follow through? That was the first question that hit me. How much was I willing to sacrifice for their approval? Losing the bet was one thing, but would they see me differently afterward?
Part of me was terrified.
The thought of stepping outside in heels, makeup, and a dress felt like an invasion of my privacy, like I was exposing a side of myself I wasn't ready to face. What would people think if they saw me? Would they laugh at me? Would I even be able to pass as a girl? These thoughts spun in my head, amplifying the unease in my chest. But there was another part of me, one that I didn't want to admit was there, that felt a strange sense of excitement. A challenge. A chance to be someone completely different, to step out of my comfort zone and shed the layers of the quiet guy everyone knew. What if I could actually pull it off? What if, in doing so, I could find something new about myself, something I hadn't known I needed? Maybe this was the push I needed to break free from my usual, predictable existence. And so I stood there, frozen in uncertainty. The clock was ticking, and I knew the decision was mine to make. Would I give in to the fear, or would I take the leap into the unknown? The more I thought about it, the more the pressure started to build. My mind kept racing in circles. What if I couldn't pull it off? What if everyone laughed at me? Every time I closed my eyes, I could see their faces. Matt, Alex, even people I didn't know, all watching me try to be something I wasn't. The idea felt like a joke taken way too far, but I was stuck in this strange limbo, torn between giving in to the dare or backing out and potentially losing the respect of my closest friends. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I kept telling myself that it would be a one-time thing, a crazy experiment, but every time I imagined myself dressed up as a girl, a wave of panic washed over me. I tried to shake it off, but the doubts gnawed at me. I didn't want to talk to my parents about it. I could already imagine my mom's reaction, half confusion, half concern. "Why would you do something like that?" she'd ask. The thought of their judgment made me want to keep everything to myself, but the tension inside me was unbearable. That night, I found myself on the phone with my cousin, Sarah. She was the closest person to me, someone who always seemed to get me, even when I wasn't sure I understood myself. Sarah, I don't know what to do, I confessed, pacing around my room. Matt and Alex, they're pushing me to do this crazy thing. I don't know if I can do it, or if I even want to. There was a pause on the other end of the line before she spoke. Lucas, you've never been the type to do something just for the attention. But maybe this is different. Maybe you don't need to be afraid of what they'll think. What do you think about it? What's scaring you more? The bet or the idea of stepping into something new? I let her words sink in, but they didn't help calm my nerves. It wasn't just about the bet. It was the uncertainty that came with the whole situation, the unpredictability of how I'd feel afterward, of what people might say. If I didn't go through with it, I risked the embarrassment of backing down. But if I did, what would that mean for me? For who I was, or thought I was? A knock on my door snapped me out of my spiraling thoughts. My mom poked her head in, sensing something was off. "You okay in here, Lucas?" she asked, voice laced with concern. "Yeah, just thinking about something," I muttered, trying to brush it off. But the more I tried to deny it, the more it felt like the decision was looming, like a dark cloud on the horizon, growing closer with each passing moment. The fear of judgment gnawed at me, but there was something else, too, something I couldn't quite define. A flicker of curiosity, a desire to test myself, to see if I could break free of the predictable life I'd always lived. Then the phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, seeing a message from Alex. "We're doing this tomorrow, right? It's now or never." I stared at the screen, heart pounding. I could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on me. It wasn't just a dare anymore. It was a moment of truth, and it felt like the world was waiting for me to make my move. Should I walk away, or should I embrace the unknown? I sat there, staring at the message from Alex for what felt like hours, my heart thudding against my chest. The words swirled around my mind, louder and louder. It's now or never. And I knew what that meant. This was the moment I would either step up or back down. I thought about everything that could go wrong, how awkward I'd feel, how ridiculous I'd look. And I thought about how everyone might laugh, point fingers, and call me out for being something I wasn't. The shame would eat me alive. But then there was the other side, the part of me that was drawn to it, that weird, twisted curiosity. A small voice inside whispered, "What if this changes everything? What if you finally prove something to yourself?" The idea of gaining their approval, of doing something they didn't expect, felt tempting. They'd respect me. They'd finally see me as one of the group, as someone brave enough to take risks, to be different. I wasn't just afraid of what they'd think. I was afraid of how I'd feel afterward. What if I liked it? What if, after the makeup and the clothes, I found something about myself that I hadn't seen before? The idea was so foreign, yet strangely magnetic. Could I change how people saw me just by doing something so ridiculous? Would I even be able to look at myself the same way after? The tension in my stomach tightened. This decision wasn't just about winning a bet anymore. It was about me, about what I was willing to risk to feel accepted, to feel like I mattered. With a shaky breath, I typed a response. "Okay, tomorrow." And just like that, the journey began. The day of the bet, everything felt different. I woke up with a nervous lump in my throat, the anxiety mixing with something deeper, a curiosity I couldn't quite place. I knew there was no turning back now, but that didn't make the process any less surreal. The moment I walked into the living room, Alex was already there, grinning like he'd won the lottery. "Ready for the transformation?" he asked, his eyes gleaming with a mischievous excitement. I nodded, my throat dry. A part of me wondered if I could back out now, but deep down, I knew I wasn't going to. Alex's words echoed in my head. "This is your chance." So I set my shoulders and walked toward the bedroom, where everything was laid out. First, there was the makeup. Alex didn't hold back. Foundation, blush, eyeliner, and lipstick. As he worked, I kept catching my reflection in the mirror, almost not recognizing the person staring back at me. The soft strokes of the brush felt strange against my skin, like something I shouldn't be doing. Every line he drew felt like a small violation, yet I couldn't deny the anticipation building inside me. When it was done, he stepped back and admired his work. "You look, wow." His voice was mixed with surprise and admiration, and I couldn't help but stare at myself in the mirror. My face was different, softer, more delicate. The sharp angles I was used to were gone, replaced by something feminine, almost alien. I reached up to touch my lips, still processing the transformation. Then came the clothes. The fabric felt foreign, like it was a part of someone else's life. I slipped into a dress that clung to my body in all the right ways, and the sensation of fabric against my skin sent a shiver down my spine. I glanced in the mirror again, and a part of me, the part that had hesitated all this time, was speechless. I didn't look like the guy I knew anymore. I looked like someone else. Someone more confident, more polished, more feminine. The shoes were the final touch, heels. My feet protested as I tried to balance, the unfamiliar height throwing me off. It felt unnatural, uncomfortable, but something about it was oddly empowering. I stood there, wobbling at first, but each step felt more steady. This is real, I thought, my heart racing. Alex looked me over, nodding with approval. You're pulling it off. You actually look really good. His tone was sincere, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a warmth spread through me. Maybe this could work. Maybe I could do this. But as the minutes passed, I could feel a storm brewing inside me. My reflection in the mirror started to feel like a stranger, and my mind kept racing with questions I wasn't ready to answer. Was this who I was? Was I still me? Could I really pull this off? When I stepped into the living room, the weight of it hit me. The people there, my friends, the ones I had always tried to impress, looked at me with a mix of disbelief and intrigue. Their eyes weren't judgmental, but there was something else, something I couldn't place. I felt exposed, raw, like I was wearing not just a dress, but a mask that didn't belong. Yet, as the minutes stretched on, something strange happened. The discomfort began to fade. The tension in my chest loosened, replaced by a quiet confidence I hadn't expected. I walked around, tested out my new voice, my new body language. With each step, I found a part of myself I never knew existed, and with it, a sense of strength. Maybe I could do this. Maybe this was me, too. I stood in front of the mirror, my reflection almost unrecognizable as the night unfolded around me. The initial thrill of the transformation had worn off, replaced by a simmering anxiety I couldn't shake. Everyone had left the party, but Alex had insisted on one last thing. We have to go out to a club tonight. I wanted to argue, to refuse, but somehow I found myself agreeing. What was I even doing? I thought, heart pounding in my chest. Was this some elaborate joke? Or had I really changed into someone else? Someone more confident, more free? The night air hit me like a wave as we stepped outside. The neon lights from the club lit up the street, casting a vibrant glow. My heels clicked against the pavement, each step louder than the last, like a countdown. I could feel the weight of every eye on me as I walked beside Alex, his arm loosely around my waist. We entered the club, and the atmosphere was electric. The bass of the music vibrated through the floor, but it was the eyes on me that made my pulse race. People were staring. Not just glances, but full-on gazes. My legs trembled beneath me. I forced myself to smile, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being sized up. Then it happened. A group of guys approached us, their eyes scanning me up and down, and I could feel the judgment in their stares. "You look pretty hot tonight, babe," one of them said, slurring slightly. I froze. The words hung in the air, but the discomfort was instant. Did he actually see me? Or was I just some game, a bet? It felt like every inch of my body was exposed. My heart hammered as I forced a smile, trying to keep my composure. But then, a twist. Alex, noticing the tension, stood up straighter and placed a hand on my shoulder. "She's with me," he said, his voice more protective than I expected. The guys backed off, their attention moving to someone else. Alex leaned in and whispered, "You did it. You really pulled it off." I didn't know how to feel. The validation felt good, but it also stung. I was caught between the reality of who I was and the stranger I had become. I looked around, and the weight of the moment crashed down on me. My mind reeled. What now? I didn't know if this was me now, if this new identity was truly mine, or if I just crossed a line that could never be undone. The heat of the club, the pressure, the looks, it all hit me at once. And in that moment, I realized the truth. I couldn't go back. Not fully. Not after tonight. The night ended in a blur, but something had shifted inside me. I couldn't pinpoint exactly what happened, but I knew I wasn't the same person who had walked into that club hours earlier. The fear that had once gripped me was gone, replaced by something else, something like acceptance, but also uncertainty. I had crossed a line, yes, but maybe it wasn't the line I thought it was. Maybe it was a boundary I had set for myself, one I didn't even know was there until I stepped over it. As I walked back to the apartment with Alex, my thoughts were a whirlwind. I had worn the mask and it had fit. But had I truly become someone else, or had I simply discovered a side of myself I never knew existed? I didn't know. Maybe the journey wasn't about the destination. Maybe it was about the feeling of becoming, the thrill of experimenting with a new identity, and the realization that sometimes you need to challenge everything you know to understand who you are. The next day, I stood in front of the mirror again, and this time, I didn't feel like a stranger. I felt seen. For better or worse, this experience had opened my eyes to the parts of me I hadn't explored, to the potential for change, to the idea that my identity wasn't static but fluid, something I could reshape and redefine as I grew. I couldn't predict where this journey would take me, but for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid of what came next. The future was wide open, and for the first time, I was ready to embrace it, whoever I would become along the way. Thank you for joining us on another captivating journey through Zoe's stories. Remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a tale. Until next time, keep exploring, keep imagining, and keep believing in the magic of storytelling. See you in the next chapter.